From the hidden compartments of the Millennium Falcon, it's the DigiGods. Now here's two former sanitation workers at Starkiller Base, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
All right, Corey, good to have you back, too. Who sent that in?
That was sent in by Stuart Moncure, who will always be the Poe to my Finn.
Oh, Corey's so good with those Star Wars-y references.
He is.
Yes, he is.
Kids love the Star Wars.
So that being said, tomorrow are the Oscars. We're recording this the day before the Oscars. Got any predictions?
What a shame La La Land got totally shut out. I mean, 0 for 14. What are the odds? Wow, Wade, you never would have predicted that.
I am still hanging with my predictions that it's going to probably win 10. I think that Sound Award, I think it's going to win 10. It's going to tie West Side Story. It'll be just one behind Lord of the Rings, Titanic, and Ben-Hur. And that puts it in pretty elite company, and that's going to really piss a lot of people off. But even if it wins 9, it's guaranteed to win 8. I don't see it getting less than 8. I don't. So
even Lord of the Rings, you're like, ugh.
I know that should look. Lord of the Rings, Titanic didn't deserve 11. Ben-Hur deserved 11.
Sure.
And West Side Story deserved 10. And
Lord of the Rings won 11. I'll tell you why Lord of the Rings won 11.
Because it's like, oh my gosh, thank God this series is over now.
No, you know what it was. My theory is that I think that the Academy. The Academy honored New Line for literally spending $300 million. They mortgaged. They literally bet the entire company on that movie. On those movies. And the fact is, it was a huge success. You know, Bob Shea just said, you know what? Here's my entire company riding on these films.
Yeah.
I'm willing to just go down with this whole goddamn ship. And you know what? It was a total winner.
It was.
And I think that the Academy kind of rewarded him for that, taking that gamble.
They did. Absolutely, they did. There was no question. So that was a reward for the series, for the business decision, everything else. Yeah, I still think La La Land is going to get the lion's share of everything. It's going to get at least 8, could get as many as 10. Not going to get more than 10. If it gets more, let's put it this way, it's guaranteed 8, could win 9. I think it's going to win 10. But if it gets more than 10, it's not stopping at 11. If it gets more than 10, it's going to become the all-time top film ever with 12.
That's terrible.
It'll win 12.
It can't do that.
So it's either 8, 9, 10, or 12. It doesn't. There's no 11. There's no path to 11. It's 8, 9, 10, or 12.
See, I think it's going to be like at the Baseball Hall of Fame. There's never been a unanimous vote for the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And
a lot of the reason that is because nobody wants there to be one. Because, if Babe Ruth didn't get 100% and Lou Gehrig didn't get 100%, then Mariano Rivera's not going to get 100%. So there's always one baseball writer who will just say no to Mariano Rivera or somebody obvious just because they want to deny them 100%. What's going to happen is there'll be one category where everybody says, man, we can't give this thing 14 Oscars, can we? Let's all just gather together and not give it something.
It can still win 12 Oscars without any individual voting for it 12 times. The numbers will work out if you have enough people. It's just so popular with every single group. The Writers Guild didn't give it an award. They gave it to Moonlight. But however, Moonlight was considered an original screenplay for the purposes of the Writers Guild. It's an adapted screenplay here. So I thought that was interesting. I expected Manchester to get the adapted award for the Writers Guild, but it didn't. Arrival did. So the question now becomes, who will Moonlight? I think is probably going to win adapted for Oscar. Who's going to win original? That's a bigger question that I think is very, very interesting.
You realize that this conversation it will be obsolete.
It's totally obsolete. Yeah, I know. It's obsolete the second that people are listening to this. So
you know what's never obsolete? This week's food.
You're going to feed me, thank goodness, please.
Now, are you ready?
Yes.
Should I tell you what it is now, or should I tell you what it is when I give it to you?
Tell me what it is when you give it to me. Okay. I'll start off. I'll hit some docs.
By the way, I think...
Yes.
By the way, what I'm going to give you, I think, in my opinion, freaking delicious. But I'm curious to see what you think.
Okay. Very good. So we got a really, really, really good doc here by a filmmaker named Nicholas Geierhalter. It's called Homo Sapiens. Homo Sapiens is such an odd, interesting, strange, compelling, cool, artsy doc. It's apocalyptic in a way, but it's also very reassuring. And the question is, what, if and when that time comes that we get into that sort of not even a post-apocalyptic but post-human era, what will be left, and how will anyone sort of know that we were here? And this is kind of this weird hypothetical look at what humanity would be, or what would be left of us if in that some future scenario when everything was gone. Really, really interesting. Super cool. This was made in Austria, and so it has a certain kind of Austrian pessimism to it. If you know anything about Austrian movies, they're a little bit tweaked. They're kind of, they're like the Korea of Europe, and that's why we get filmmakers like, that's why we get the filmmakers who make the movies from Austria that we do. Anyway. Really interesting movie, and I think it's definitely worth checking out. Homo Sapiens. From PBS, we have Alzheimer's, Every Minute Counts. I have gone 2 tours with as caregiver for relatives who suffer from dementia. Alzheimer's, of course, is the mother of all dementias, and it is a really, really important thing to be aware of. Any of us could become a caregiver at any given point, and you just never know. You never know who it's going to hit. So Alzheimer's, Every Minute Counts is all about what this does to us, to society, to individuals, to families, the costs, the remedies, the ways of coping. It's a really, really good documentary. I highly recommend it. Saving Mess-Einak. God, I just brutalized that title. But in any case, this is a really interesting archaeological doc from Icarus that is about an Afghan archaeologist who is trying to save a site in Afghanistan before it is destroyed. And this is not a Taliban thing. It's not the Taliban who are going to destroy this site. It's not religious fanaticism or neglect. It's the Chinese. The Chinese have a mining company that they want to start digging copper out of the earth, and because they are going to do that, they are going to put a serious archaeological treasure at risk, and that is what this is all about. And the Taliban play a part in this, but it is it's an upsetting film, and if you love ancient treasures and archaeological digs as much as I do, you'll probably want to watch this. It's upsetting. It's upsetting. It makes you wonder how much of our stuff we lose every year.
You know what's not upsetting?
What's not upsetting?
What I'm about to give you.
Okay, one more doc here, and then I'll unleash you on that. Look at Us Now, Mother. That's the name of the doc. This is by Gail Kirschenbaum, and it's one of those personal docs, one of those personal family docs. I reviewed this on radio, and this is essentially it's like a home movie. And Gail Kirschenbaum, who is a very successful documentary producer and television producer, and has long credentials, she basically wanted to make her own documentary about her relationship with her mother. And it is an amazing look through family archival materials and through very personal relationships of a dysfunctional family, very Jewish American family, but also a very just mainstream American family, forgetting about all of the showbiz and ethnic issues and regional issues. There's a bit of everybody's family in here, and it is funny and heartbreaking all at the same time, and a really, really interesting doc. And it was nice to rediscover this again, because I liked it when I saw it for radio. Watching it again, I realized I liked it even more. Look at Us Now, Mother, by Gail Kirschenbaum. Really, really interesting doc on family. Actually, Mark just split again, so I'm gonna toss one. What? Okay.
I wanted to make it just a little bit warm. Now, here's the thing. After all this build-up,
yeah,
I bet you've even probably had this before.
Yeah.
So I have a French girlfriend.
Yes.
And we were talking on Skype, because that's what we do, because she lives 7,000 miles away. And we were talking about food. She's French. That means she likes to cook and bake and whatnot. So she says, have you ever had pesto cake?
Pesto cake?
I said, pesto cake? It goes, yes, it's a savory cake. It's not like a sweet cake.
Right.
It's not like chocolate.
Okay.
It's a cake with pesto, the pesto that you put in your, you make a pesto sauce.
Okay.
I said, that sounds disgusting. And she said, no. She goes, we looked.
It's like tomato ice cream.
You know what? While we were, and people can do that. And by the way, while we were Skyping, I found a recipe online.
Yeah.
She amended a little bit.
Yeah.
And I made pesto cake.
Wow. Good for you.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
It's really good.
I know.
What do you mean you know? Have you had it before?
No, I've never had it. Come here.
Okay, so tell me if this this is pesto cake. Wait, this is this is unrehearsed, spontaneous.
Oh my gosh, it smells like pesto.
Right?
Totally.
Fla.
Wow. That's interesting.
Not a sweet cake; it's a savory cake.
Mm-hmm. You know what this is?
It's pesto.
Well, it kind of. This is like. Here's the experience of this. If any, and this is like biting into pound cake and tasting pizza. It is.
Okay, I have to admit I put a little too much salt in it. It's a little salty. I like salty things, so I'm okay with it. But okay.
Seriously, it's like biting into pound cake and tasting pizza. That's what it is.
Okay, so do you like it?
Yeah. Yeah, I've never had a savory cake before. I didn't know this was possible.
A pesto cake.
That's interesting.
And by the way, this thing is, first of all, it is completely unique and interesting. Mm-hmm. Nobody, like 7 people in America have eaten it, and they're all Italian or French or whatever. And it is, at least the recipe I got, is incredibly easy to make. Okay, now that you're shoving it down your goddamn gullet, you're starting to get into it, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's good.
Because there's pound cake that tastes like pizza. That's why. My goodness.
Okay. If if you didn't like it, you wouldn't be shoving little bites down your throat every 5 seconds.
No. I'm gonna need something to drink. I gotta wash this down.
Is that because of the salt? Because I put a little too much salt in it.
No, it's just because I'm shoving my mouth with too much of it.
Okay.
It's really good.
You're okay because you're always honest, right? If you don't like it, you'll tell me if you don't like it. Okay. Pesto cake. Okay, but when you first,
I kind of want to lick the napkin right now.
When you first tried it, you were like, you didn't expect to taste that,
right?
But then you got a couple.
It's pound cake that tastes like pizza.
But now that you've got a couple bites in your mouth, you're like, this is good.
Absolutely. Look, if I had ice cream that tasted like pizza, my first thought would be, this is ice cream that tastes like pizza. And then I'd be like, I want more ice cream that tastes like pizza. Of course, anything that tastes like pizza. I'm surprised they don't make perfumes that smell like pizza.
Ladies and gentlemen, pesto cake.
Pesto cake. That's very good.
It was in French. It was like gâteau de whatever pesto was in French.
All right.
And I'm like, well, I don't understand what that is. So I had to Google it, and however you say pesto in French is pesto. And I thought, oh, pesto cake. That sounds disgusting.
That's great.
And then we found a recipe. I made it. It's so easy to make. You just take all the ingredients, just dump it into a bowl, and just bake it.
Yeah.
So there's nothing going on.
All right.
And it was delicious. Okay, but now you want something to drink. Oh,
yes.
Here's what I can give you. I can either give you something to drink, or... But this has nothing to do with Blu-rays or DVDs or entertainment.
Yeah.
I can either give you something to drink, which of course is the easy way out,
okay.
or, because I'm being especially generous, I can give you a small scoop of chocolate peanut butter ice cream.
Yeah, let's go with the water.
Really?
Yeah, I need water. Well, okay.
My chocolate peanut butter ice cream
I'm not a big fan of peanut butter.
Who are you? Peanut butter is the best.
I'm not.
Everything is good. Okay, when you go to a Thai restaurant, do they not give you peanut sauce with your satay?
That's not peanut butter.
Yeah, it is. It's peanut sauce.
Yeah,
not peanut butter, but it's peanut sauce. Fine, I'll give
water,
you
water.
Boring.
I'll think about the ice cream later. Okay, so documentary called Casablancas, The Man Who Loved Women. If you've never heard of John Casablancas, you need to, because he's the guy that like out Hefnered Hefner. Basically, he's the guy who created Elite Modeling Agency, and from there gave us the whole supermodel phenomenon. John Casablancas was a fascinating guy, larger than life at the time. You know, that was his life in the 1970s and into the 80s. Anyway, and this is all about him. And it's a little bit vain, as you would expect, but it is a fascinating look at this life and a lifestyle and a particular kind of business that did not exist prior to the 1970s. We had, supermodels were there in the 1960s, but not the way that Elite pioneered them and groomed them in the 1970s. Maya Angelou and Still I Rise. This is an American Masters documentary from PBS. A beautiful, poetic, incredibly well-crafted tribute to one of the great American poets of all time. And it has interviews with literally just about everybody. It's astonishing. There's like nobody who wasn't willing to talk to them. Everybody made themselves available. Produced through a whole wide coalition of PBS partners, including WNET and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and it's just perfect. It's an absolutely beautiful tribute. It includes some behind-the-scenes stuff and interviews with, basically behind-the-scenes stuff with Common and John Singleton, both of whom are interviewed in the film. And then we've also got The Weapon Hunter. This is a Smithsonian Channel documentary. Which is this is the first season, by the way, of a documentary series. So this is an ongoing thing on Smithsonian Channel. But it is all about old weaponry, guns, tanks, you name it, that are kept alive and resurrected and made fully functional for the modern era, so that we still have some kind of functional legacy of our weapon history. It's kind of an odd series, but it's interesting nonetheless. It's a marginal kind of occupation. All right, Mark, let's talk about some new movies.
Oh, new movies.
Yeah, new movies. Okay, here's one that we teased last week, and I have a feeling you're not as fond of this as I am.
I am fond of it. You know what? I'm always amazed.
This is my favorite Marvel superhero.
I don't understand that. I'm always amazed how Marvel is able to push the envelope in different ways with different films, where the films are basically the same, but they're just a little bit different.
Doctor Strange is awesome.
Like, this is the one who doesn't have really superpowers; he's more mystical.
Yeah,
Ant-Man's the funny one. They find ways to push the envelope,
and that's why I like Doctor Strange. It was mystical. There was an attempt to make a Doctor Strange television series back in the '80s. And they made the movie. The pilot was aired, and it just didn't really catch fire, but it was cool. And this is really very much in keeping with the same sensibilities. It's just, there's something about Doctor Strange that he enters, and I guess this is what I always enjoyed about it, is that everyone else in the Marvel Universe lives in the Marvel Universe. Mm-hmm. Parallel to the Marvel Universe is this mystical, magical other world that only Doctor Strange can enter. And I always found that to be interesting. The world of the Silver Surfer is the same world as the Hulk, is the same world as, the Fantastic Four, is the same world as the Guardians of the Galaxy. They're all basically occupying the same general universe and space and interfacing with the same people, except for Doctor Strange. Where he goes, nobody else can go. And that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
I thought the movie was fine. It's got that Inception thing going on, with the foldy buildings and everything.
Yeah. So anyway, lots of extras here on the Blu-ray. This is you can get this in Blu-ray, DVD, or Blu-ray 3D, which also includes the Blu-ray and the DVD and the Disney Anywhere, digital access deal. So yeah, Doctor Strange, lots of cool stuff on here, lots of cool extras on how they did the effects and how the whole thing was conceived, and gets into really excruciating detail, almost more detail than I really wanted. I enjoyed the audio commentary with Scott Derrickson quite a bit. I like Scott Derrickson. He's fully in control of what he's doing. I hope he does a lot more of this stuff. I really do. He's a good guy. They found a good guy. These workman-like directors, they're not gonna be Best Picture winners, but Marvel finds guys who just sort of, they go to work and they do the job, and they do a really good job. I'm
amazed that they're giving Thor 3, whichever Thor it is. They give me to the guy who did Hunt for the Wilder People.
Yeah.
Did you see that movie?
No, I did not.
It's terrific. It's really fun.
Hunt for the Wilder People. Yes. No, I did. No, that's it's. Yeah. I was thinking of something else. Yeah. No.
Tiki tutu tata tuta.
Well, no. Taika Waititi.
Whatever.
No. Yeah. Taika. I've met actually. Taika was his short film, Two Cars, One Night, black and white short film, was in the competition at the AFI Fest years ago when I was on the shorts jury. And we gave him the award. We gave him the top award ahead of a short film that was also very, very funny, but made by a guy who went on to do something like, I think his dad directed Ghostbusters or something like that.
Mr. Kevin Feige,
Yeah.
Feige,
Yeah.
whatever his name is today, he actually knew that, hey, there's this guy named Taika Waititi, who did this crazy, which is it's a terrific film.
Taika's been on the radar for quite a while.
But for that kind of film,
if you remember the year that Two Cars One Night was in competition for the Oscars, I remember very well when they had that was the year that they had cameras in the audience, and they just cut to these live cameras of all the shorts filmmakers sitting in the audience, and it was hysterical because Taika made just a ridiculous face into the camera. He made a mockery of the whole thing.
Okay,
he's a very talented filmmaker. I'm not hugely fond of The Hunt for the Wilder People. I think it's a little out there, but Taika's a very, very good filmmaker, and he will do an amazing job with it.
What I'm saying is that somehow Kevin looked at him and said, "Let's hand him $190 million."
Yeah. The Two Cars One Night was a great short. About two kids in cars while their parents are inside the honky tonk or whatever in New Zealand, just hanging out. And these two kids just kind of they develop a friendship and a relationship just in adjacent cars in the parking lot. Great film. The Jason Reitman film that it was up against was hysterical, but not as good. It's two people who are about to have sex, but they have to negotiate it. So their lawyers pop up on adjacent sides of the bed and basically walk them through the negotiation, which was very funny. It's very Jason Reitman.
I'm sure it's on YouTube if I wanted to watch it.
I'm sure it is. Anyway, so Doctor Strange. I don't know how we got there from Doctor Strange, but there we go. Okay, Mark, you got a couple of cool docs over there.
What?
Cool new docs on Blu-ray.
A funny thing
one of
is,
which I love.
I have to say something. As much as I revere Sidney Lumet, and he's one of my favorite, if not all-time favorite directors of all time, the documentary by Sidney Lumet, which was created for PBS, it's okay.
Yeah.
The whole thing is just one big, gigantic conversation with him interspersed with clips.
But it's good.
It's good because I love him. I would rather watch one of his films. I would rather read his book, Making Movies.
Yeah.
Reread his book, Making Movies.
Yeah.
I think it's fine. I don't know why I was watching this thing expecting more.
Yeah. Well,
is there something wrong with me?
No.
Now the Sidney Lumet obviously has since died, and the interview that was done was conducted in 2008. But he's got great stories in terms of how he grew up, how he started as an actor and then became a director. I still think I'd rather reread Making Movies and watch this, but it's terrific. If you never heard of Sidney Lumet or you don't realize how important he was and continues to be, definitely check out By Sidney Lumet.
Sweet.
Now, Southwest of Salem, a fascinating documentary. It's about these four Latinas who were wrongly convicted of gang raping two girls in the 80s. And what's the twist here is that these four Latinas are lesbian. And so not only do you get this miscarriage of justice because they were completely innocent, but there's other societal issues that are addressed, like homophobia and, trial misconduct, and also various socioeconomic inequality issues. And it's pretty fascinating stuff because it's got those deeper layers. So I would definitely check out Southwest of Salem. It's called Southwest of Salem, The Story of the San Antonio Four. Special features include a couple of interviews with the girls post-exoneration, as they call it on the back of the DVD box, and a trailer and another featurette. But obviously, it's all about these women who were wrongly convicted and the fact that their sexual lifestyle somehow, for some ridiculous reason, played into how they were tried, the public's perception of them, which is just ridiculous. And so now we have this great documentary, Southwest of Salem.
Chronic. Really interesting movie. They got no love theatrically. This is from Lionsgate and IFC, I believe, originally picked this up. Anyway, Chronic won Best Screenplay at the Cannes Film Festival. Michel Franco directed it, and it is a beautiful, touching, really well-written film. Anyway, this also got a Spirit Award nomination, but it was somehow I just didn't get any love theatrically. I just don't get it. The idea here is Tim Roth, who is so good in this. He hasn't been this good in years. Tim Roth is a nurse who cares for terminally ill patients, but personally suffers from depression. And it is all about the relationships that he develops and how he copes and how he helps them cope. It's beautiful. It's really a sweet film. It includes a little behind-the-scenes featurette. It is not on Blu-ray. It is only on DVD, largely owing to the fact that it just didn't catch fire. And I wish it were otherwise. Had it might have been an Oscar nominee for best screenplay, to be honest, because it's really well written. It's really a beautiful film. This is the winner of the week, I got to tell you. It's been a long time, Mark, since we've talked about a Steven Seagal movie.
Wait, did we talk about a Steven Seagal movie 7 days ago?
So this is our second Steven Seagal movie in a week. Mark, why does he keep making movies? Seriously,
people keep paying him.
What, 2 Steven Seagal movies in 2 weeks? What is up? Oh, look! It's actually, this is very different. He's got jet black hair and a jet black goatee, and he's holding a gun on both the cover and the back. That's different from last week, where he had jet black hair and a goatee, and he was holding a gun.
He should do a film called Jet Black. That'd be a cool name for a movie.
Okay, so he's fat and he dyes his hair with a color that doesn't exist anywhere in nature, and this is they're terrorists in Mexico, and
by the way, his name is Steven Seagal.
Yeah, I know.
It's like Stephen Colbert. His name is Stephen Colbert.
Yeah,
his name is not Stephen Colbert.
I know. And in fact, I was talking about Steven Seagal years ago in line to see a movie at the Academy, and the lady behind us butts into our conversation. She goes, "Seagal, he's little Stevie Seagal. I went to elementary school with him." It was hysterical. It was hysterical to have her just go, "Yeah, he was Stevie Seagal until he became like the Aikido master, and then he's Steven Seagal." Yeah, whatever.
Did I ever show you the photo?
It's the same thing with Ray Fiennes.
What do you mean?
Ray Fiennes is not how you pronounce his name. Joseph doesn't like to go by Joseph Fiennes because he pronounces it Fiennes. He says, "Your name's Ralph Fiennes."
Is that his name?
That's really how it's pronounced. But Ray Fiennes just sounds more
regal or aristocratic, or like he's a thespian.
Yeah,
is that right? So really, it is Ralph.
It is Ralph.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
I'm very disappointed by it. I thought it was like some weird Celtic BS was going on.
No.
Did I ever show you a friend of mine used to work with Seagal? Worked with him for years.
Yeah.
And he's a piece of work.
Yeah.
I mean, he likes flying to Bangkok and doing what people do in Bangkok. But did I ever show you he once texted me a photograph of a painting that Seagal commissioned for himself. It is a painting of Seagal dressed as Genghis Khan on a horse. Full-on Genghis Khan wardrobe on a horse, looking like he's the master of all. It
sounds like something from the In-Laws, doesn't it?
It does, though.
Anyway, so look, there's terrorists who are using drug cartel tunnels to smuggle weapons. I don't know. It's just none of it makes sense. This is also from Grindstone, same company that made the last one. They just crank these things out. Seagal gets no other work. He made stuff for Grindstone. They pay him a few bucks, and they sell these things all over the world, I guess. It's a business model that works for them both, but man, these movies are terrible. This is on Blu-ray with Ultraviolet. Got no extras. Doesn't need them. Why would you want them? Well, I mean, it's got a, making of thing, but who cares? So with that out of the way, Mark, we don't know if this has won any Oscars yet. If anything can upset La La Land, this can.
You know what?
But you and I are not as keen on it as everybody else.
I think I'm just dead inside, like I said last week.
No, you're not.
Also, you know what? I think too that
we're talking about Moonlight.
I think too that I felt this is so mean. Here's the thing: the film is what really sells me. Is how gentle and well-meaning it is. Everybody came into this with the best of intentions.
We can safely say that by the time people are listening to this is almost certainly an Oscar winner of something in some form.
Yes, probably cinematography, maybe.
Nah, I don't think. No, I think La La Land.
Oh yeah, okay, fine. There's a crane shot, and they're dancing towards the crane.
No, you know what? You watch that opening sequence. I mean, both of these films.
It'll win it based on the opening.
La La Land and Moonlight both open with amazing one-take sequences that are incredibly well staged. Camera movement.
First of all, get your phone because it's gone off like 3 times, and I will talk about Moonlight. Yes.
Really?
It's not my phone.
Oh, might be.
It's gone off like 3 times in the last 2 minutes. Don't stop the recording.
I won't. Talk about Moonlight.
You know it's your wife.
Talk about Moonlight.
What I'm saying is that I felt there was a little bit of box checking going on. It's African-American, gay, young kid, inner city, whatnot. So it felt a little bit like box checking. I really loved Mahershala Ali, and I was looking at that guy going, God, I hope you're in this whole movie. And it turns out he's not. And he's going to win an Oscar. But he's just great. But even though the character annoyed me, because I thought to myself, okay, here is this kid who is lucky enough to meet the world's nicest drug dealer. I mean, this guy is just a prince of drug dealers. I mean, honestly, this kid hit the jackpot.
That
kind of got me off to a bad start.
By the way, the phone that was ringing off the hook, that was my mother-in-law. She's called 4 times.
Well, maybe she's something important.
Not really.
How do you know?
Because it's my mother-in-law.
All right, you're used to it.
Yeah, I am. I know. I just know what it is. Love my mother-in-law, but you know. Anyway, so yes, carrying on. Here are my issues with Moonlight. And first of all, I think Barry Jenkins, tremendously talented filmmaker and writer. I think I'm thrilled that he's finally kind of broken through. And he's got many great films in him to come. Beautiful instincts, very, very good with actors. I mean, really, really talented with actors. I like the fact that this is a very simple story, simply told, 3 chapters in the life of a man from childhood through adolescence and into adulthood, and that it doesn't feel the need to sort of overcomplicate a very simple story because the emotions are so true. I get all that. My issue is this: I think it spends 2/3 giving you a character who is the antithesis to every LGBT movie cliche about a gay man, okay? And we know there are lots of them. We talk about some of them on this show. And every gay and lesbian film festival has about 24 of these movies where this is your gay man, and it's like every stereotypical gay friend that everybody has ever had. Okay, 2/3 of this movie is saying this guy is not that guy, and that's really compelling. And then at the end, he kind of becomes a gay cliche. And I think I've heard the arguments that say, yeah, but that's who he would become. And I recognize there's some validity to that, but it still was a little bit of a disappointment to me that you spend 2/3 of this movie giving me someone, and then at the end of the movie you go, well, he goes there anyway. And that disappointed me, even though it's still, it recovers a bit at the end in a very, very honest and touching way. I kind of wish it hadn't have gone there. So that's my take.
You also think to yourself that there was too much time between the second and third chapters? You're like, he seemed like a totally different person.
That's part of the issue. That's part of my issue with that too. And that just becomes a personal preference at a certain point. It is still nonetheless a very, very, very well-made film. And it was made for $1.5 million.
For $1.5 million, man. I mean, it's a very sensitive story that has its heart in the right place, beautifully shot.
Look, it's beautifully shot. It's adequately recorded, right? The audio is good. It's solid. It doesn't need to be like the greatest sound film of all time. It's basically all dialogue. But the performances are amazing. You don't need to spend a lot of money to get great acting, great writing, great acting, great cinematography. These is shot on film. These things don't have to cost a lot of money. They made this for $1.5 million. You can make a great movie for $1.5 million. It's hard, but you can do it.
I just want to make sure that this is not a response to, Oscars so white.
No,
that people now feel that they have to take the African American film and overpraise it, so that they don't feel like they're.
I think they're. I will be honest. I think some of that accounts for this film's critical acclaim, but I think the film is good enough that it would have gotten all of that, the lion's share of that acclaim anyway. I think it would have still been nominated for all the Oscars nominations it got because it's good enough and the performances are great. So I'll yeah. Anyway. Oh, Robert Zemeckis.
I liked Allied. I'll tell you why I liked Allied.
Did you really?
I liked it as good old-fashioned mainstream Saturday night at the movies filmmaking. That's all it was to me. Look,
I guess.
If this was Humphrey Bogart and this was somebody...
It would be one of their less interesting films.
Okay, fine. If this is Bogart and this was whoever, Lauren Bacall or somebody, you'd be like, wow, this is good old-fashioned World War II filmmaking. I
guess.
I thought it was fine. I was into it. I was into it on that basis because, again, Barry Levinson, at this point, he's old-fashioned as much as he's trying to, as much as he spent a lot of time, or Zemeckis, as much as he spent a lot of time trying to, modern himself up.
Yeah.
Eventually, he winds up making his best film in years by going back.
It's weird.
Well, it's Brad Pitt. It's Marion Cotillard. It's just a good old-fashioned spy thriller, and I just enjoyed it on that basis.
Yeah.
You obviously didn't like it.
I think it's lame. It's well made. Look, I like him. I like her.
I like the fact that it was lame. You know why?
Yeah.
Because I just feel like this would be a film that would be made in the studio era.
It would have been.
It might not be the best film made in the studio era, but it would be one of those crank 'em out World War II films. You know what I mean?
Was. It's just
like the bad guy we played by Sidney Greenstreet. It'd be awesome.
All right, so it's 4K.
If they made this film in 1945, you're like, this is fun.
Yeah,
you would be like, this is fun.
I guess so. So anyway, all right, Allied, Brad Pitt, Marion Cotillard. It's a lot of fun. Mark says it's on 4K. 4K, a lot of special features and the behind the scenes stuff, production design, et cetera, yada yada. I guess fine. Okay.
Come on.
So
you must remember this.
Okay. So Maggie Greenwald, one of the most underrated filmmakers on the planet. I love Maggie Greenwald. She doesn't make movies often enough. She really doesn't. Songcatcher was the one that really kind of caught everybody's attention. Before that, she made The Ballad of Little Joe with the current Mrs. James Cameron. And now she's made Sophie and the Rising Sun. Damn it, Maggie Greenwald should have been nominated for an Oscar by now, and these are all really fine films, and this may be the best film that she's made, and it's so sad to me. It got almost no attention. This was at Sundance. Didn't get enough love at Sundance, I don't think. It is really, really good. So Sophie and the Rising Sun, in many respects, is kind of a remake of The Ballad of Little Joe. The Ballad of Little Joe, of course, starred Susie Amos, again, currently Mrs. James Cameron, as a woman who in the West, pretends to be a man and then winds up having a romance with a Chinese railroad worker, which of course creates all kinds of problems. The interracial white woman, Asian man caught in a cultural maelstrom forbidden romance angle is also what this is about. Except this takes place in 1941 in a little South Carolina village, where a young woman who has a certain history in the village, very, very sweet woman, develops a friendship with a young Asian man who is beaten up and thrown off of a bus in their village, and everyone takes him for Chinese.
Oh.
And what was that?
You know what I was doing, actually?
What were you doing?
While you were droning on, I looked up an article called Ray Fiennes Reveals Backstory on His Name.
Yeah.
So I was.
Oh, you're looking that up.
Looking that up for you while you droned on about Sophie and the Rising Sun.
Well, anyway, Sophie and the Rising Sun is a really beautiful film, and the woman and the man, who of course, as we all know, is Japanese, but unbeknownst to the people in the village, they fall in love, and it is a forbidden romance, and of course that creates all kinds of problems, etc., and so forth. Julianne Nicholson plays the woman. She is phenomenal. You mostly know Julianne Nicholson because she was Vincent D'Onofrio's partner on Law and Order, Criminal Intent for a while, and she's great. She's just absolutely terrific. Or was Julianne Nicholson Jeff Goldblum's partner? I think she was paired with Jeff Goldblum in Criminal Intent. I forget which. I've seen that. Get everybody
Why
mixed
do you
up
even
on
watch
that
that show?
Anyway, because my wife was really into it. Anyway. Great support. Great supporting performances. Margot Martindale, Diane Ladd hasn't been this good in decades, and of course the man who plays the beleaguered Japanese gardener who is looking to just have a peaceful life, Takashi Yamaguchi, fantastic, and of course, needless to say, Pearl Harbor happens at a certain point in the movie, which creates all kinds of additional issues beyond the racial issues to begin with. So. Great movie, so sensitively made, really well written, and for no money, Maggie Greenwald, somebody needs to just throw her a bone and let her do something really, really great. I can't imagine what kind of struggles she goes through to get her movies made. It just sucks.
By the way, in order to find the answer to that question, I have to watch a 25-minute video. I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
But according to his Wikipedia page, his full name is Ralph Nathaniel Twizzleton Wickenham Fiennes. Okay, if part of his name is Twizzleton Wickenham, it may very well be Rafe. Twizzleton Wickenham? What kind of BS is that?
I don't know. Okay, we got some cult films. I'm going to burn through some cult films, Mark. Okay, you ready?
I am.
I'm going to burn through some cult films, and then we're going to go to some classics and other fun things. Psychomania from the Arrow collection of. This is from MVD Distribution. Psychomania is just pretty much one of how do I put this? It's not Easy Rider. It's from the same era. It's from that same period. It is, it's just a really weird zombie biker exploitation film from the 60s, and I can't really recommend it. It's kind of a mess. But that being said, the guy who directed it, Don Sharp, came out of the Hammer Studios thing, and so he's got a little bit of style and a certain thing. But the idea of zombie bikers is like, okay, we've had Easy Rider and we've had Night of the Living Dead. Let's just mash them together. It doesn't really work. But that being said, it's a cult film. People love this film. It's got a real following, and it comes with gobs and gobs of extras on its restoration, 2K restoration from the original Separation Masters, and a new interview with Nikki Henson, who stars in it, which is interesting. And then a cool little archive featurette, which I actually thought was more interesting than the movie. So that is Psychomania. Boy, is that a weird one. Antibirth. This is a newer film, means to be a cult film. This is from IFC Midnight. It's on Blu-ray and DVD together in a combo pack. Natasha Lyonne, Chloe Sevigny, and the great Meg Tilly, who hasn't been around for a while. She kind of disappeared. This is just about some kind of millennial girls who take drugs and hang out, and then they're basically, one of them becomes pregnant, and there's no explanation. And of course, there may very well be kind of a Rosemary's Baby thing going, or maybe not. And then it gets really weird and freaky. And it's called Antibirth. And I guess it wants to be an exploitation film, kind of, sort of is. Stakeland 2: Death Is No Escape. That is Stakeland, Stake. Don't get your hopes up. It's not about prime rib or anything. It's a zombie movie. That's all it is. It's a vampire, zombie, whatever, undead, creepy movie. It's okay. Just a lot of style. I didn't see Stakeland 1, so I'm just going to assume that this is basically Mad Max meets zombie vampires. Dead West is from RLJ Entertainment. This has a little thing going for it. The guy who directed this also edited it. He wrote, directed, and edited. Takes all 3 credits. Kind of wish people wouldn't necessarily do that. Jeff Farrell, who also gives a really interesting commentary. The movie, again, is Dead West, and it's about a guy who it's kind of one of these modern horror western deals. He's looking for his girl, looking for a girl to love, not just one in particular, just any girl that will sort of be his girl. And he winds up, by and large, killing them because they're not right. And why waste it, right? You do that too. You go on a date, you do a J-date thing, it doesn't really work out, so you murder her, right?
Isn't
that what you used to do?
I am so happy that
you're not doing that anymore,
even though she is 7,000 miles away.
Yeah.
I hear stories about friends who, like Zach, went on a J-date the other night, Saturday night. Don't go on a J-date on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
That's like especially a first date.
Right.
And he's telling me what happened. I'm like, you know what? Even if this relationship is just some pretend BS relationship with a woman who will never work out because she lives in Paris, I'd rather do that than be on J-date.
Yeah.
And then I'd murder them.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's what this is about, and of course, it all eventually catches up with him. It's a thing. It's a trend. It'll run its course. And last year, Dario Argento presents. That means
that's better than him making a movie.
That means they got no other way of marketing this. Dario Argento presents Sergio Stivaletti's Wax Mask. Oh dear. This is just a crazy schlocky giallo thing. This was originally apparently supposed to have been directed by Lucio Fulci, and he died before they were able to make the movie. So they threw it into the hands of Sergio Stivaletti, who is no Dario Argento and no Lucio Fulci. But it's it's just whatever. It's on Blu-ray. I can't possibly recommend it. James Herbert gets the possessory credit here. Because he wrote the novel, and I guess that's meaningful because I don't know who James Herbert is, but you get to call this James Herbert's The Survivor, even though it's directed by David Hemmings. Anyway, this is pretty decent schlock from Severin from 1981. Still has kind of a 70s schlocky vibe with a one foot in the 80s schlock era of AFM specials. Essentially, this is an Australian schlocker with a plane that crashes in the suburb of Sidney, and everyone dies, but one guy comes out without a scratch on him. And the question is, wow, what's going on here? And then you get into there's a whole kind of supernatural angle to this, and it's a big thing. Allegedly, this was super expensive and a really, really costly film in Australia at the time, but 1981 is like sort of the era of Ozploitation, so that wouldn't surprise me. But it's called The Survivor, and it's one of those. It's all right. Last couple, The Devil's Dolls. This is from IFC Midnight with nobody in particular. It is kind of a run-of-the-mill horror film that has a little bit of it's new, made in 2016, but it means to feel like an 80s or a late 1970s horror film. And it's all about serial killer. It's okay. It's fine as far as serial killer movies go. And then a new movie that looks like an old movie again is Never Open the Door. This one's all shot in black and white, and it's very claustrophobic, very low budget. It's about people having a Thanksgiving dinner in the woods. Oh, never go in the woods. And this injured man shows up at their door, and then everything just, never answer the door. Never go to the woods, and if you do, don't answer the door. Anyway, pretty well done for what it is, and I think, it bodes well for the future of exploitation film in this era where everything is exploitation.
Wow, that was a brilliant summation, Wade.
Thank you. All right, so.
Criterion, the Before Trilogy. Richard Linklater, boy, this guy likes taking his time telling a story. Between this and Boyhood, he's told 4 films. It's taken him
forever
30 years to make 4 films.
He has Bernie in there. You throw Bernie in there.
Anyway, but the Before Trilogy is quite the achievement. And I have to tell you something. As somebody who, as I mentioned before, and as you know, especially from last week, as somebody who met his girlfriend in 2004, and we did not speak at all except on email for 10 years before reconnecting.
That's kind of amazing.
It's a little bit.
You get this.
It's a little before-ish.
This speaks to you.
It's a little before-ish, and it really resonates because the whole movie is about the whole series really is about people's conception of love and what love really is, and whether someone's fantasy of what love's going to be, whether it'll ever match the reality of being together and the difficulties and whatnot. And so what these guys are going through is exactly what I'm going through. Of course, they have twins. They have twins in these films, right? In the last film, they had twins. I, of course, have no children. But anyway, so the Before Trilogy has been packaged by Criterion into a great set. Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight. By the way, the first one in 1995, the last one in 2013. That's just crazy. And Linklater, he loves his commentaries. He loves loading up these things, helping Criterion load up these things with supplements. There's new discussions with Linklater and Delpy and Hawk. And what's nice about Linklater, what he does in these things is that he actually gives Delpy and Hawk co-writer credit.
Yeah.
Because, again, this is all figured out with the three of them.
It's workshopped in the way that Mike Leigh does. It's a similar process. Yeah, absolutely. I am not as fond of these movies as some people are, but I certainly respect the outside the box thinking, and I'm really hoping he leaves it at 3 films, because if he adds another one, it's going to sort of ruin everything.
Well, now there'll be like 60 or something. It's going to be weird.
Yeah. All right. We got some other really great classics here. I mean, what a great week for old movies. Mildred Pierce, Joan Crawford's all-time classic, directed by Michael Curtiz, who, of course, did Casablanca as well. The Hungarian-born Curtiz, who'd made so many great Hollywood movies. This is a 4K restoration on Blu-ray from Criterion. It is gorgeous. Uncompressed audio, because it's mono, and it sounds and it looks so beautiful. The black and white is just so glowing and pristine. And, this was remade for HBO with Kate Winslet not too long ago, and it's very good, but this is the original Mildred Pierce. It is just fantastic because it's made at a time when the whole concept of being a single mom was a bigger deal. Like single moms today, there's a dime a dozen, but back in the 1945, being a single mom was like kind of almost scandalous, and Joan Crawford was as big as a star came at the time, and the whole to kind of convert that into a noir is just really amazing. It's just such a great film. Lots of great stuff on here. An excerpt from a 1970 episode of The David Frost Show with Joan Crawford. A 2002 feature-length documentary, The Ultimate Movie Star, which is all about Joan Crawford and her career, which is just, that bonus is worth the price of purchase alone. And then a really cool segment from a 1969 episode of The Today Show with James M. Cain, who, of course, was the author of Mildred Pierce. And you just learn everything about Mildred Pierce, and it's fantastic through and through. And then from the Vestron video collector's series.
Yeah, Vestron.
Which is great. Lionsgate has resurrected the Vestron library with a special brand, and we've been covering them, and they come with a slipcover and that Vestron logo. And Vestron, one of the original genre DVD, straight to VHS companies. This is The Gate. Oh, my gosh. Do you remember The Gate?
Vaguely.
Where the kids find that gate to this other world.
Yeah, vaguely.
Oh, it was so much fun. It was like low-budget, trashy Goonies. It was great. It was really, really fun. The Gate is... it's funny how these movies that we thought were junk in the 1980s, like suddenly now there's... Wow, it feels kind of cool because this is now, 30 years old. It's 30 years old, 1986. A lot of fun. The director, Tibor Takacs, does a commentary along with a lot of his collaborators on this, and then there's an isolated score and audio interviews and interviews with the effects people. All of this is just really interesting, and again, it's just demons coming into a small suburban town. It's like Steven Spielberg and Joe Dante meet in a really schlocky straight-to-video movie, but it's a lot of fun. The Gate from the Vestron Collector Series on Blu-ray from Lionsgate.
Wait, from Warner Archive Collection, we have Love in the Afternoon.
I love this movie.
You know what? This is Billy Wilder, one of the all-time great directors. And not only that, but this was Wilder's first collaboration with I.A.L. Diamond, which they would write so many great films together.
Izzy Diamond.
And, this is Audrey Hepburn. Not one of her more stylish hairstyles, I have to say. But this is Audrey Hepburn falling in love with a much older man. He was like 30 years older almost. And it's Gary Cooper, one of my least favorite Golden Age stars. But anyway, Gary Cooper, Audrey Hepburn. It is a May-December romance, and this thing is probably near the bottom of my Billy Wilder favorite films list.
Well, it's
still a solid movie.
It's a solid movie. I mean, you see this for the stars. It's not. It's Gary Cooper and Audrey Hepburn. Come on, it's like they're just beautiful. It's two beautiful people.
Yeah, but you know what? Seeing the two of them together is really creepy. She's always like this young gay mind who looks like she's perpetually 27 years old.
True.
And he's like Gary Cooper, and he's like aging and gray and ugh.
Deadtime Stories, Blu-ray DVD combo pack. This is from Shout Factory, from the Scream Factory division. Deadtime Stories is another 80s movie from 1986. Same year as The Gate, has the same vibe. It's that whole era. It'd be a good double feature together. This is essentially about nightmares that become real, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of schlocky fun. Directed by Jeffrey Delman, who does a new audio commentary and is clearly so glad that someone's talking to him again because he just doesn't make movies anymore. And it's a great transfer. Shout Factory does a really good job digging up elements and doing right by them. And it was schlocky at the time. It was horrible at the time, but somehow now it kind of feels kitschy and cool. And I kind of enjoy this. It was, I remember at the time this was like this was one of those movies that went straight to midnight movie status. And now I kind of feel like, wow, it's amazing how time kind of restores the luster to movies that we just didn't like before. Anyway, Deadtime Stories.
Dirty Dancing. If you watch Dirty Dancing, which, by the way, is available now in a 30th anniversary edition Blu-ray, you realize that without the music, this movie sucks. It really does. This is just a silly story, but you know what? The music is so good, carries you along, and they had heat, and Patrick Swayze was so handsome, and she was so cute. And
you know what redeems this movie is the French romantic comedy Heartbreaker. In French, it's called l'arnaqueur, which is a pun, actually. It's hysterical because this factors into that movie. It's really funny. It's hysterically funny. Okay, never mind.
Anyway, do you need to buy this if you have one of the other,
Not really.
Really
Not really. You've had the time of your life. Once is enough.
It really is true. I mean, how often do you want to revisit this film? But once a year.
You realize this has like 6 hours of extras on it. It's just
and some new stuff. There's new stuff on there. Some is pretty good.
Who's gonna watch Dirty Dancing and then say, you know what? It's only 2 p.m. and I don't have to be anywhere until 9. So I think I'll spend the rest of the day watching extras. It's just at a certain point, it's too many extras for movies that don't warrant it. It's interviews and interviews and interviews, and of course a couple of commentaries. It's just crazy.
So when Carrie Fisher died, if there's one good thing about Carrie Fisher dying, it's that people got to realize what an amazing writer she was. Because
true.
People just thought, oh, she's Princess Leia, but she had this amazing career as a script doctor and an author and all this great screenwriter, all this great stuff that people didn't really dive into until she died.
Yep.
And so in the vein of that, we have on Blu-ray Postcards from the Edge, which is based on her novel, and she adapted the screenplay. This, of course, is directed by Mike Nichols, and it stars Meryl Streep as the Carrie Fisher-type character, Suzanne Vale, who just landed herself in rehab. And so she decamps to her mother's home, played by Shirley MacLaine. By the way, how was Shirley at the LAFCA dinner, which I missed?
I missed it, too.
You didn't go?
I didn't go. I was babysitting because Christy was in Paris. See?
Well, you know why I didn't go?
Because you were on your way to Paris.
I was in Paris.
Yeah, you were. Yeah. So.
But you realize that she's just a terrific writer. It's so funny and it's so insightful, and it just comes from that place of having lived it. Yet it's still mainstream enough that you can get a lot of laughs out of it. I think Postcards from the Edge is just terrific. So, I would definitely check out Postcards from the Edge, especially because of Carrie Fisher. Maybe it's not a movie that you would want to watch because it's Meryl Streep and it's Shirley MacLaine and who are they. But for Carrie Fisher, you'll really get a sense of what a great writer she was from Postcards from the Edge.
So, Coffin Joe is a horror classic, and these films are Brazilian. That is what makes them so unusual. This is like the first time that these are Brazilian movies that became mainstream cult classics with international audiences. Coffin Joe is an undertaker and just a horrible human being, and can't have a child, and then it just on and on and on it goes. It's a creep fest. And the horrible psychotic adventures of Coffin Joe, who eventually winds up getting a hunchback assistant, much like Igor in the Frankenstein movies. It begins with At Midnight I'll Take Your Soul, which has not been on DVD for quite some time. So the Synapse has recently now released the official complete Coffin Joe collection for the first time in years. The third of the films, The Embodiment of Evil, was out on Blu-ray not too long ago in a Blu-ray DVD combo set. They don't have Blu-rays of the new films yet, but they're available now in the set and individually. And they are, of course, the first film, At Midnight I'll Take Your Soul, and the second one, This Night I'll Possess Your Corpse. Brazilian horror, pretty creepy. Does it really work from a story standpoint? No. Does it work from a horror standpoint? Totally yes, all over the place. Coffin Joe is back, all 3 of them. And you can get it in a complete set, too. Mark, we got a bunch of stuff from Kino. Great lineup from Kino. I'm going to go through the whole Kino lineup. We got the classics, the Kino Studio Classics, a bunch of those. And then we also have a couple from other lines. Redemption, from their Redemption Library line, is Jess Franco's Dr. Orloff's Monster. We think Jeff Franco is a bit of a hack, but he made a few films that are not bad. And in 1964, he hadn't completely blown his brains out yet. So this still has a certain cachet to it. This is the sequel, of course, to The Awful Dr. Orloff, which was the film that really kind of put him on the map. And it is basically the same. It is largely the same kind of a horror film, same mood, same general quality to it. And, as far as early zombie films go, I guess it's perfectly fine. Better than most subsequent Jess Franco stuff, I will say. The gem of the week is another one of these regular Kino classics. This is Buster Keaton, Steamboat Bill Jr., along with College. These are from the Lobster Library. These have both been released by Kino before in different transfers in the complete Buster Keaton set. I'm hard pressed to tell you that these are better than the ones that are in the box set, but you may still want to double dip.
Well, I have these. Well, Steamboat Bill Jr. and College is hilarious.
They're great movies. That goes without saying. These are 2K restorations that came out of Lobster, and I don't know that they look that much better.
No, not to me.
Than what's on the original Kino Blu-ray release. But still, if you want to be a completist, hang on to it. Lots of great extras on here. I mean, a lot of great extras. Audio commentary by Michael Schlesinger and Stan Taffel on Steamboat Bill. Audio commentary by Rob Farr on College. Really, really excellent. There's a kind of a cool Alka-Seltzer commercial that Buster Keaton was in that's also included here. There's an introduction by Lillian Gish on College, which I thought was really interesting. And then a 1928 collegiate comedy with Carole Lombard called Run, Girl, Run, which kind of sort of coincides with this. And then Buster Keaton's final performance in 1966 in The Scribe. All of that is included in this double feature of Steamboat Bill Jr. in College. But again, I can't tell you if you should or should not double dip. It's a tough call. And then to kind of wrap things out, we've got 7 from the Studio Classics line, Kino Studio Classics line. Some better than others, but all of them have a certain cachet to them. From 1983 is another one of these Mad Maxy ripoffs called Striker. And this is from 1983. It's a New World production, which at the time was Roger Corman's New World before he sold it. And it is derivative in the very, very best Roger Corman way. Jim Wynorski, a legend in 80s era schlock, does the audio commentary, and it is a really, really, really fun commentary. I highly, highly recommend it. It is a lot of fun. You're going to thoroughly enjoy what Wynorski says. It's actually better than the movie. A lot of other crap followed from this, but Stryker with a Y, Stryker. As far as the Road Warrior Mad Max knockoffs go, it is certainly one of the schlockier and more amusing. The Unholy Four is a kind of sort of spaghetti western, directed by E.B. Clutcher, otherwise known as Enzo Barboni. And, it's not as fun as most spaghetti westerns are, but it's got its moments. This was made in 1970, kind of in the wake of the Django moment, well after the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The Sicilian Clan is actually quite a lot of fun. There are this is when there's something that French actors would do at a certain point, which is they'd all go into these kind of gangstery gun movies when their careers were a little bit on the wane. And Italian actors would do this as well. And this is one of those. Not a great film. It's 1969. It's a genre film. But Alain Delon, Jean Gabin, very old Jean Gabin, and Lino Ventura are give them guns and put them in a French gun gangster movie, and you'll have a lot of fun. Is it great? No, of course not. But you understand why this has a certain cachet when you listen to the commentary with Howard Berger and Nathaniel Thompson. They perfectly put it in its context, and you have a greater appreciation for it. I'm a lot more of a fan of No Highway in the Sky, which I think is enormous fun. Jimmy Stewart and Marlena Dietrich for director Henry Koster, who was great with these kind of programmers. They are a wonderful, wonderful pair together. Not two actors you would think to normally throw together in a suspenser, in a kind of a post World War.
Spencer for hire?
Yeah, no, a suspenser in a World War II, kind of a post World War II, made in 1951. So it's post World War II, beginning of the Cold War. But you know what? It works, man. It really works. Henry Koster really kind of finds the tension, finds the chemistry, and makes them work really well together on the screen, and it's beautiful. I'm also a big fan of Henry Hathaway's 23 Paces to Baker Street with Van Johnson and Vera Miles. This was made in 1956. Henry Hathaway, primarily known for westerns, But he did deviate every once in a while into things like thrillers, like this one. And he always did a great job. And the idea here is that you have an American writer who happens to be blind, and he's in London, and he stumbles into this web of intrigue, we shall say, which makes it start to feel a little bit like a kind of a Rear Window knockoff. Like, okay, he's not in a wheelchair, he's blind. And it is a little bit, but it's clever in its own way, and I appreciate it. It's produced by, we should point out, Henry Ephron, Nora Ephron's father. And it's good solid stuff. Great supporting performances as well, especially by Cecil Parker, Patricia Laffin. And then the last two here, APE, Ape. This is one of these really ridiculous 3D movies from a previous era when they still had not learned that 3D was junk, this being the 1976 revival of 3D. And, it's a guy in an ape suit, man. There's just, it's ridiculous. It's silly, but as kind of a kitsch throwback to the era, you can watch this in 3D if you still have a 3D set, and yeah, fine, whatever. It's a silly movie.
3D TVs?
3D. They're on their way out. On their way out.
Over.
And then Deluge. This is a pre-code film from 1933. Very interesting. This is also from the Lobster Library. Beautifully restored. Has a great commentary by Richard Harlan Smith, which really, really explains why this is important. And it has another feature film on it from 1934 starring Peggy Shannon, who's in Deluge, called Back Page. But that's just that's an extra. What's so interesting about this is about earthquakes that create a giant tidal wave that is going all around the world. It's the most ridiculous impossibility that you would have an earthquake that would create a tidal wave that would wipe out New York City. It's absurd. But it's the aftermath of that makes this film really, really interesting, because it then becomes this really intriguing, very early post-apocalyptic film made under pre-code conditions. And in 1933, we are, of course, on the verge of World War II. It's not an imminent thing, but everybody knows what's happening in Germany. Everybody knows what's happening in Italy. Everybody kind of sees the writing on the wall. Japan is in Manchuria, and you feel the weight of all of that when you're watching this. And it creates a very interesting backdrop to this film, especially considering that it is a pre-code era movie. So it's really, really interesting where it goes. It's a largely forgotten film that really deserves to be rediscovered, and I'm glad that it's out again. So Deluge from 1933, really, really well worth rediscovering, directed by Felix Feist, who went to do a lot of kind of schlocky stuff like Donovan's Brain in the years after. So there it is. All right, Mark, you know what?
Pesto cake, that's what?
Pesto cake for sure. Before we go... I'm going to make mention of one foreign film. We didn't get around to foreign films.
What are you doing to me?
Because the Oscars just went by, and I'm praying that when we come back next week and talk about who won the Oscars, I'm really, really hoping that Salesman won foreign language film and that it did not go to Tony Erdmann, because I freaking hate Tony. I hate Tony Erdmann. So it's a 3-hour German movie with a guy with nutty professor teeth.
Hilarious.
Not funny. Marin Ada, who directed that, also did a film called The Forest for the Trees. I want to get this out of the way, because this is equally annoying. Look, it's funny. See, they drew glasses on the woman and then what is it with her and teeth? Got an artwork on here where you mark out the woman's two. Look, here. This is about a woman who becomes a teacher and winds up sort of struggling through all of the ups and downs and the unpredictable aspects of being a school teacher, and how do you find joy in life. In short, she basically is the daughter from Tony Erdmann. So, Marin Ada just cannot leave alone certain themes that just are better left alone. I don't find this film charming at all, yet somehow this had some festival exposure around the world. If you know why Marin Ada is considered a great filmmaker, please email us at gods@digigods.com and let us know, because we just can't, I don't get it. All right, with that, we are done this week, and we will be back to talk about the Oscars and lots of cool new movies next week.